What's up, guys, and welcome to LP Tremors, where we talk all things violent horror. Today, I'm going to bring you the top 10 records of 2022, in my personal opinion, of course. And these 10 records are fucking phenomenal. 2022 has been a hell of a year for music. It was really, really tough to just bring it down to 10. Got a few honorables that I'm going to share with you guys before. However, my top 10, I'm very confident that these are my favorite records of 2022. So, enough of my bullshit. Let's get into this. All right, so I'm going to start off with my first honorable. These honorables, I have three honorables here. They're not in any particular order. They just missed the mark just slightly, just by one reason or the other. This first honorable I'm going to share with you guys is a record that really should be somewhere in my top 5 or top 3. The only reason why it is in the honorable section is just because there's a difference between when this record was released and when this record was recorded. I'm talking about, of course, a record that came out on July 8th of this year. I'm talking about none other than Neil Young with Crazy Horse, Toast. Now, as I was mentioning, there is a huge difference between the release date and when this album was actually recorded. This album was actually recorded between 2000 to 2001. It wasn't released until this year, July 18th. However, this is just a fantastic record. This is just Neil Young being Neil Young. So there's no stranger. Like, you have Hitchhiker that came out. That was released in, 2017, 2018, but was recorded in 1976. So he has a shit ton of records like that. Homegrown, that's another one. But this is one that just follows that up. But yeah, this is Neil Young with Crazy Horse, Toast. Fantastic record. Opening up with that track, Quit, which is could be my favorite track off this record. It's very moody and very almost cheerful in a way, but still has a moody kind of sort of melodic feel. Then you have an extreme. These two tracks scream Crazy Horse to the max. You got Standing in the Sun and Going Home. Again, these three tracks are some of my favorite tracks off this record. Fantastic stuff. Standing in the Light of Love and Going Home really had this hard rock, edgy type of feel. Tracks you would really, connect with Crazy Horse, with Neil Young, of course. Then you have Timberland, Gateway of Love, How You Doing, and then Boom Boom Boom. It's like an 8-9 minute epic. Brilliant stuff. There's really no weak points off this record. It's just, again, I feel bad putting it in an honorable mention, but I just felt right. It just feels right to just stick this into an honorable, again, with that huge difference between the release date and when this album was actually recorded. But there you go, another record from Neil Young and Crazy Horse. It does maybe not doing anything new in particular, but still a fantastic record. Love this record, highly recommend it. Neil Young with Crazy Horse, Toast. So with my next honorable, it's going to be a record that was released on February 18th of 2022. We have KHRAUNGBIN and Leon Bridges featuring Texas Moon. So Texas Moon is following off Texas Sun, which was released 2020, 2021, something like that. But Texas Moon is an amazing follow-up to Texas Sun. Not necessarily doing anything new here. Maybe giving more of a moody atmospheric type of sounds compared to Texas Sun. Hence the title and album cover alone, right? But yeah, Texas Moon, it's not necessarily doing anything new here, but still absolutely fantastic. Opening up with the track Doris, which is kind of like it's very moody type of feel. Leon Bridges, he sounds fine. Maybe a little bit exaggerated with the auto-tune. But overall, he sounds pretty fine. Very soulful, of course. But then you go into B-side, which is kind of like a funkier feel. And then the rest of the record is just very, very moody. So you have Chocolate Hill, you have Father Father, and you have Mariella. All of which just a very, very, very moody feel, very melodic, soulful, very jazzy. I love the chord progressions throughout this EP. Very good harmonies. Overall, it's fine. It's really, I shouldn't say it's fine. It's really, really good. Very good follow-up to Texas Sun. Just an album that, again, not really doing anything new here. More just really nice follow-up. Leon Bridges is probably the weakest point off of this record. I just think the the vocal effects and the sort of auto tune is very, very exaggerated. However, it does work for what this record is trying to go for. Kind of maybe a soulful, atmospheric type of feel. But yeah, that's kind of the weakest point. But KHRAUNGBIN as a band sounds absolutely fantastic. Great guitar work, great bass work as always. So there you go. Texas Moon, KHRAUNGBIN, and Leon Bridges. Great, great stuff. Highly recommend it. So for my next honorable, we are going to be taking a huge curveball. Very, very different from Texas Moon and Toast. We're going to be going into 80s German thrash, baby. This is coming out on April 8th of 2022. We have Destruction with Diabolical. So, for anybody who doesn't know or maybe a little bit unfamiliar with the German thrash scene, there are three huge bands that represent the German thrash scene. We have Destruction, we got Sodom, and we got Creator. Destruction has always been my favorite compared to the other two. I don't know, Destruction just kind of had more of a progressive element to them. They kind of focused on like, you know, the black and death metal thing, which I really like. But yeah, Destruction, they just seem very, very different, kind of like in their own separate world compared to the other bands. Nothing to take away from the other bands because the other bands are great. Destruction just had more of a progressive element that I really appreciate. Awesome stuff. And Diabolical, I really, really love this record a lot. They really surprised me, actually, because to tell you the truth, I'm not huge on the latter period of Destruction, but this is a huge exception. Awesome, awesome, awesome record. Really reminds me a lot of, you know, their 80s output quite a bit. Like you have the title track Diabolical, which is just hits you in the fucking ass, dude. But before that, you have Under the Spell, which is kind of like a 2 minute sort of interlude. You're hearing this beautiful guitar harmony, not really knowing where this record's going. Then it goes to the Diabolical, that blistering scream in the beginning, and then it's just a nonstop fucking roller coaster throughout the rest of this record, and it does not let down. It just honestly, you're gonna be exhausted by the end of this record because it's nonstop. It just kicks you in the fucking ass. Again, it's continuing that progressive element that I was talking about earlier, and the vocals are absolutely brilliant. We have a new guitarist here by the name of Furia, of course, replacing Mike Surfwinger, and Furia makes a hell of an entrance on this record. I love the guitar work. The bass work is absolutely mesmerizing. But yeah, this is just another Destruction record that's just gonna kick you in the fucking ass. Again, this is a huge upgrade compared to what we've heard in Destruction. And when I say huge upgrade, I'm not necessarily saying that their latter half is bad per se. It's just a lot of hit or miss. There's not really a record where I'm gonna be like, yes, this is a record that's gonna be a yes for me. Great, great stuff. Just Destruction doing what Destruction does. Awesome stuff. But yeah, Diabolical is probably the track that I'm really going to take out as my favorite track off this record. And it actually was a single leading to this record. So if I'm going to recommend one track, it's going to be Diabolical. But you have so many great tracks, like Hope Dies Last on here. You have State of Empathy. Oh my God. And great, great stuff. I can't stress enough how awesome this record is. Really, really great stuff from Destruction. So there you go. Those are my honorables. Now we're going to get into the real cream of the crop. My top 10 records of 2022. And let me tell you, it was a fucking bitch to rank all these albums because I do really appreciate all of these records to death. Really awesome stuff. So, coming in as my number 10, we have a record that came out on June 17th of 2022. And this is actually kind of like a debut record. We have Charlie Griffiths with TIKTAALIKA. Now, Charlie Griffith, you might know him from a little band called Hawken, kind of like a modern day progressive rock band. This is so fucking different from Hawken. I honestly hear no similarities between Hawken and this Charlie Griffiths record. Because this is honestly, if I was going to compare this record to anything, I would say mid 2000s Opeth, because you're hearing a lot of guttural vocals on here. And then you're hearing a lot of melodic moments. You're hearing a lot of epic tracks, a lot of progressive elements. That's probably the only similarity I can really point out between Hawken and Charlie Griffiths' record TIKTAALIKA. Awesome stuff. But you have Prehistoric Prelude, which is obviously the prelude. It's again kind of like the same thing with, Diabolical Destruction. Starting off, you really don't know where this record's heading because it's kind of giving you like a very suspenseful, almost atmospheric, melodic feel. But then it goes right into Arctic Cemetery, which is, again, Opeth 2005. This is something that could have easily been pulled off of Ghost Reveries, from Opeth's Ghost Reveries, because it's very epic. But it's just a roller coaster of a track. You're getting these up and down motions. You're getting these progressive elements. You're getting these quieter motions. You're getting these guttural vocals. But then, if I was gonna take away one track off this record, it's gonna be the title track, TIKTAALIKA. This is like an 8-9 minute instrumental, but this is like, honestly, this is Opeth meets Iron Maiden. I can totally see Iron Maiden doing an instrumental similar to the title track, TIKTAALIKA. You're seeing a lot of amazing chord progressions here, a lot of galloping riffs. It just gives you this very, very unpredictable feel throughout this record. There's some sort of suspense. You're a lot of great, great guitar work, of course, from Charlie Griffiths himself. But yeah, this is just, again, if I was just going to describe this record in a nutshell, it's going to be Opeth 2005. It's like, I don't see any difference or any similarities between Charlie Griffiths' record and any of Hawkins' material, honestly. But a lot of guttural vocals, a lot of aggressive behavior off this record. But then again, it gives you a melodic feel. You have a few, slower points or moodier points. Then it's just a roller coaster of an album. Very unpredictable album. And that's why it's landing as number 10 in my top 10. There you go. Charlie Griffiths with TIKTAALIKA. Now, coming in as my number 9, here we go. Now, this is probably the earliest record in this whole stack that I have. This is a record coming out January 28th of 2022. This is Praying Mantis with Catharsis, coming in at number 9 for me. Now, this is a record, well, when it comes to Praying Mantis, me as a fan, I've been a little on and off with Praying Mantis. They're a band that I really appreciate a lot. And, just coming out of the new album scene, you have really fantastic records in the 80s. However, they haven't had the record where I just hold near and dear my heart and just say yes. God damn it, Praying Mantis with Catharsis could possibly do it. Because there's so many beautiful tracks on here. The opening track, Cry for the Nations, could possibly be my favorite track of 2022. It just gives you this really, really epic feel. A feel that I never really heard in the Praying Mantis catalog, to be honest with you guys. But the rest of this record, it kind of gives you like a little bit of an AOR feel. Not, again, it's really, when I say AOR feel, I really mean like almost dad rocky a little bit at times, but it's good dad rock, not, cheesy, wannabe hip dad. But it gives you kind of like an AOR feel. They're not toying with anything new here, but you have tracks like Ain't No Rock and Roll in Heaven, which is definitely a little bit on the dad rock spectrum. You have Closer to Heaven, which is kind of more closer to a ballad than anything. A few poppy hooks here and there, but overall, Praying Mantis with Catharsis, fantastic record. Really knocks it out of the park here. And again, a record that kind of took me by surprise. Again, like I said, when it comes to Praying Mantis, I'm not a huge fan, but this could possibly be my favorite Praying Mantis record. Really awesome stuff. But you also have Wheels in Motion. You have The Devil Never Changes, which closes out the record. Again, Sacrifice. Really, really awesome stuff here. If you listen to this record, it kind of gives you, it knows when to be epic, it knows when to be a little bit moody, a little bit melodic, has these little poppy hooks. And let me just put this out there. Praying Mantis is not a metal band. They've never really given me a heavy metal feel. They kind of got lumped into the new album type of thing, kind of with bands like Diamond Head, Iron Maiden, Saxon. but they really represent that new album sound. Praying Mantis, not so much. Very different. I would compare them closer to Boston than I would, Iron Maiden or Saxon or anything like that. But again, I know I'm rambling here, but Praying Mantis with Catharsis, definitely check this record out if you are into, old school 80s new album or into some, typical AOR stuff. Praying Mantis with Catharsis, really awesome stuff. Coming in at number 8. Now, this is probably the biggest surprise to me of 2022 because this record I really thought was going to be down in the dumps. This is a record coming out on September 9th. I actually was supposed to do a full review of this record. Whoops. But I'll give you a little short of my thoughts with this record right now. Record coming out September 9th. This is OZZY with Patient Number 9. Again, a record that I really thought was going to be a pile of dog shit. So let me take you back to where I am as an OZZY fan. Just like the typical OZZY fan, or if you talk to, the general consensus, OZZY has not been putting out really strong records in a long time. I would say, and not this coming from somebody that really defends albums like Osmosis and Down to Earth. I actually do really like those records. But when it comes to albums like Black Rain, Scream, and definitely Ordinary Man, they just do nothing for me. A few tracks here and there are good, but overall, not doing much for me. This record, huge upgrade. I love this record. It was so surprising to me. And when he released, Patient Number 9, the single off this record, a few months before this record was released. And I actually do have a full review of Patient Number 9. And I love that track to death. And my thoughts have not changed whatsoever for Patient Number 9 single, because that track is still a fucking banger. Jeff Beck, and honestly, Jeff Beck is definitely the MVP off Patient Number 9. But you have so many great tracks here. You have Immortal featuring Mike McCready, really awesome stuff. You have Parasite, which is probably one of my favorite tracks off this record. That's featuring Zakk Wylde. I love that chorus, man. That chorus just gets me every single time. That actually brings me to my next point about this record. Ozzy Osbourne as a singer for this record. He does sound very, very auto-tuned. A lot of work went into the production table with this record, and you can definitely hear it. However, it just works with this record. More so on this record than Ordinary Man. Because Ordinary Man, I think, is a pile of dog shit. I love the single of Ordinary Man, but the rest of the record can go fuck itself, honestly. But this album, I thought it was going to be the same thing. And I mentioned this in, my review video of Patient Number 9 single. When I heard the single for Patient Number 9, I was on cloud 9. I love that track. But I was still extremely cautious because that's exactly what happened to Ordinary Man. Love the singles, but hate the rest of the record. I thought it was going to be the same thing with this record, but honestly, I really don't have much of an issue with any of these tracks. Like I mentioned, Parasite, I love just that chorus alone. Very catchy, very gripping. A little bit of a poppy hook here and there, but really awesome stuff. And then you have the Tony Iommi track, which is another single, Degradation Rules, which is literally a song about jerking off. But it's still so fucking awesome. It takes me right back to the Black Sabbath era. Maybe not so much in the lyrics, but definitely as far as tempo goes, as the chord progressions go, definitely takes me back to Black Sabbath. No Escape from Now, really good. You have Dead and Gone on here. 1,000 Shades, another Jeff Beck track. One of Those Days is another track that's really, really up there for me. And that's also featuring Eric Clapton. And this is an Eric Clapton that I haven't heard in years. Like, it's just Eric Clapton. He's not necessarily doing like the bluesy kind of thing that he's more known for. But yeah, Eric Clapton, I think, does phenomenal off this record. But overall, as far as all the collaborative tracks go, there's not really a weak point here. It kind of ends on a whatever note with a track like Dark Side Blues, which is like a minute and a half of nonsense. But overall, this is a fantastic record. Truly surprised me. Ozzy's vocals still, they seem very, very processed, but it just works with this record. And also, I should mention, if you get this particular version, hold on, where is it? Fucker. Comes with a pretty badass comic book, Patient Number 9. So that's another reason alone to get this record. But overall, awesome, awesome stuff. There you go. Ozzy with Patient Number 9. So coming in at number 7. Again, so this is a band that, same thing with Praying Mantis, going back to the Praying Mantis thing. This is a band I've listened to on and off. There's a certain era of this band that I appreciate more than the rest of the catalog, but this is another record that surprised me. Again, a lot of these records just surprised the hell out of me because I really thought they were just going to be records I don't care about. But this is another record that truly surprised me. This is a record coming out on February 12th. This is Scorpions with Rock Believer. So, when it comes to Scorpions, as a fan, to tell you the truth, I love the 70s stuff, the Uli John Roth era. But I really became a fan around like the Love at First Sting era, or like that whole 80s era, going from Animal Magnetism all the way to Face the Sands. That is the Scorpions that I really gravitate towards. More so because that's kind of like a nostalgia type of feel. I do love the 70s stuff, but the 80s catalog of Scorpions is my go-to. And then, as far as their most recent output goes, literally the same thing with Destruction. Kind of like a hit or miss with a lot of the most recent stuff. But again, same thing with Destruction. Scorpions Rock Believer could be my favorite post 2000s. I love this record. A huge standout track is definitely the track that ends this record. It's When You Know, it's a beautiful ballad, a very nice epic. It's almost like I don't even know how I would describe it. It's just this beautiful epic ballad. Almost reminds me of has like a Wind of Change type of feel to it. But really beautiful track. It's more of a track that brings people together. Great stuff. I love the title track, Rock Believer. It's kind of like a 3-4 minute sort of epic. Beautiful guitar harmonies. The vocals are very awesome. Very awesome stuff here. But you have other tracks like Gas in the Tank, which is, a 4-minute rocker. You have Roots in My Boots, which is really good. Knock 'Em Dead is just this badass hard rock anthem. Really cool stuff there. You have Shining of Your Soul, Seventh Son, Call of the Winds. Great, great, awesome stuff here. Unfortunately, I don't have the vinyl, so I'm gonna have to deal with the CD. But awesome, really, really great stuff. Again, another band that just surprised the hell out of me. Maybe not doing anything new. It actually kind of reminds me of like the Crazy World album, just by a hair, a little bit. And I love the Crazy Worlds. I just mentioned Wind of Change, but yeah, really great stuff here. Scorpions Rock Believer. Maybe they're not doing anything new, but each track there's not really a weak point. You're gonna have a blast. It's Scorpions doing what Scorpions does. Scorpions with Rock Believer. Now, coming in at my number 6, this is an artist where I literally just discovered this year. And he is a relatively new artist. I believe his first record came out in 2018, 2019, something like that. So this is the first record that I am personally introduced to of his discography. And I truly believe I started his discography on a high fucking note because this record is a 10 out of 10. So I'm going to be talking about a record that came out on February 11th of 2022. We have Orville Peck with Bronco. Now, for anybody who doesn't know who Orville Peck is a South African country artist. And when I say country, I don't mean like Morgan Wallen pile of donkey balls, pop country, that type of era. No, Orville Peck is he's like a mix between Hank Williams and Roy Orbison, to be honest with you guys. Like, he has an old school 50s, 60s country feel to him. However, he does add a lot of soul elements, a lot of folk elements, maybe some pop hooks here and there, but nothing too crazy. Very, very, very operatic as well. Maybe some sort of classical feel as well. Orville Peck is just all over the place. Very soulful, but yet has a country folk feel to it. You can't really accurately describe, Orville Peck, but that's probably the best way I can describe him. But yeah, Orville Peck with Bronco, amazing, amazing album. Opening up with Daytona Sand, starting out with this brilliant acoustic riff. It's very simplistic, but it's very effective and very suspenseful, to be honest. Then you hear, the Roy Orbison-esque vocals of Orville Peck, and it grabs you by the fucking balls. It gives you immediate goosebumps. Really, really great stuff. And the track just keeps going. It progresses. It progresses. Then it gets a little bit more operatic. It gets a little bit more epic. And you hear these like really interesting soundscapes and a bunch of different instrumentations going on, a lot of chord progressions. And that's kind of like the overall theme of the rest of this record. Like, you have the Curse of the Blackened Eye. You have Out of Town. Lafayette is another like Roy Orbison-esque track. But yeah, but the rest of the record is just absolutely phenomenal. If you're looking for, a country artist that isn't, the freaking Morgan Wallens, Orville Peck is definitely the way to go. Really, really interesting stuff. Very unpredictable at times. And he's just a hell of a freaking artist. Very, very mysterious artist, too. Like, I'll put a picture of him somewhere up here. That look just says everything you need to know about the rest of his catalog. Really awesome stuff. So yeah, Orville Peck with Bronco. That is my number 6. There you go. So now we are at the real cream of the crop stuff. Top 5 albums of 2022. These albums are going to be near and dear to my heart for a very, very long time. I love these records to death. And again, it was such a bitch to rank these records. Now, to kick off my top 5, this is a record coming out on November 11th of 2022. Hence, this is the latest release of this whole set that I have for you right here. And this is coming from a band where their first couple of releases, their first record came out in 2015, I believe, 2014. Their first couple of records, just records I'm not big on, but this is a band that just keeps getting better and better and better. And this is definitely my favorite record from this band thus far. I'm going to be talking about Larkin Poe's Blood Harmony. Awesome, awesome album from the female duo Rebecca Lovell on lead guitar and vocals, and you have Megan Lovell on slide guitar. So for anybody who doesn't know who Larkin Poe is, they're pretty much a bluesy roots rock band of the modern era. And they are definitely a band or a duo that really should be on your radar because their last 3 releases are really, really good. The first 2, like I said, it's kind of like a hit or miss. Not albums I really gravitate towards, but they're decent. But their last 3 records, especially the record that came out before this, Self-Made Man, is awesome. But this record just tops it. Really, really great stuff. You have the singles on here, like Bad Spell, which kind of gives you like if the Black Keys were a blues band, that's kind of what it would kind of sound like, which is cool. You have Georgia on My Mind, which is another track where it really, really, really shines for the roots rock stuff. Again, with a couple poppy hooks here and there, but really, really gravitating that Crosby, Stills, and Nash type of feel. But yeah, you have Deep Stays Down. Awesome track. Rebecca Lovell sounds amazing on vocals on here. But yeah, you have Bad Spell to follow that off, and George on My Mind. Strike Gold, it kind of gives you like a little poppy feel, but still very, very catchy, very melodic. But then, yeah, Blood Harmony, the title track, really kicks so much ass. You have Summertime Sunset, which is really good. Kick the Blues, Bolt Cutters, and The Family Name. Really awesome stuff if you want to get into some modern day roots rock, bluesy type of stuff. They are a band that really should be on your radar. And Rebecca Lovell, her vocals just are absolutely beautiful. Could possibly be one of my favorite vocals of the modern era. and definitely one of my favorite female vocalists of all time. But yeah, amazing, amazing album. They just keep stepping it up and stepping it up. Not a weak point off this record. Really, really great stuff. But yeah, Deep Stays Down is definitely the biggest highlight, and Bad Spell. Bad Spell is really good. Georgia Off My Mind is really good. Southern Comfort, but this whole record is just great. So there you go. Larkin Poe with Blood Harmony. Definitely give it a shot. Number 4, and I reviewed this record in full on this channel. I'm going to be talking about a record from one of my favorite artists of all time, Mr. Buddy Guy, The Blues Don't Lie. This is coming out on September 30th of 2022. And yeah, I did a full review on this record, so be sure to check that out. But Buddy Guy, Blues Don't Lie, man, what can be said about The Blues Don't Lie that I haven't said in that review? My opinions have not changed in the least bit. This is a banger of an album. And Buddy Guy, he's 86 years old and he's still cranking out records like this. And actually, he just announced his farewell tour, unfortunately. But man, I give the guy a lot of respect. He is my gateway into blues. Actually, I've mentioned this on my channel previously. He is the first blues artist I truly got into. And yeah, this is following up The Blues Is Alive and Well from 2018. Another banger of an album, but I don't know which one's better, to be honest. Buddy Guy, The Blues Don't Lie, or The Blues Is Alive and Well. You have Gunsmoke Blues on here, which is it's a track that it's a track that needs to be said. It gives you so much goosebumps. That's definitely my favorite track off this record. But you have We Go Back on here featuring Mavis Staples, which is another beautiful track, very moody, very melodic. But I'm not going to go into huge detail with this record, just because I did do a whole review of this record. So be sure to check that out. But a few standouts is definitely The Blues Don't Lie. The title track is awesome. I already mentioned Gunsmoke Blues and We Go Back. But you also have I Let My Guitar Do the Talking, which is such an amazing opener. I've Got a Feeling, really good. Rabbit Blood. You have King B, which is, I believe, a Muddy Waters cover. Really awesome here. You have House Party, kind of like an upbeat, fun track. A couple weaker points, like you have Symptoms of Love featuring Elvis Costello. Not the biggest Elvis Costello fan, but you have Follow That Money featuring James Taylor. Well Enough Alone is really, really awesome. What's Wrong with That? It's a fun track. Featuring Bobby Rush. That's just such a fun track. I just hearing the chemistry between Buddy Guy and Bobby Rush it'll make you laugh your ass off, to be honest. They're talking about how they like their woman, how they like their chicken. It's just like this cheesy ass track, like just puts a smile on your face. So that's a big highlight off this record. But overall, fantastic album. Buddy Guy, The Blues Don't Lie, coming in at number 4. There you go. Coming in at number 3, top 3, baby. We have a record coming out on March 11th of 2022. And this record I was really, really looking forward to earlier in the year, because this is a band that I've been following since pretty much the beginning. And their first album came out in 2010, I believe. This record, and this is another band similar to Larkin Poe, whereas the first 2 albums I do really like, but this is a band that just keeps them better, in my personal opinion. I'm going to be talking about Ghosts IMPERA. So, yep, this is coming out on March 11th, and this is a record I really, really was looking forward to, and I wasn't in the least bit disappointed. I heard the singles. You got Hunter's Moon as a single, and you had Call Me Little Sunshine as another single. Both tracks are a swing and a grand slam, and it's really, really awesome stuff. Now, Ghost, I feel like Ghost, there's really a separation here, because you have the first 2 records that are really, really looking into like the it's like Blue Oyster Cult meets Merciful Fate almost. These past 3 records, so you got Meliora, Prequel, and Imperia, kind of gives you like a more of a poppy feel, a little bit more melodic feel. But I actually prefer those later 3 records, Meliora, Prequel, and Imperia. But Meliora is probably my favorite of the 3. but this is could be a very close second. But you have Imperium, the title track, which is amazing, absolutely amazing. You have Spillways, another beautiful, beautiful track. You have Darkness at the Heart of My Love, which is a beautiful ballad. It's very a very moody track, but overall, this is just a great, great album, and very unpredictable at times. I will give it that. And I see it going to a very progressive element with this record, more so on this record than Melio or Freak Hell. A lot of progressive elements here. It does hype up the poppy hooks. This is a band that's just getting more and more into a poppy direction. Compared to the previous releases, especially the first two. But it's very catchy, very melodic, very just punchy, very sing-alongy, of course. But yeah, it just I can't really describe this record in full, to be honest. It's a record you just have to listen to. So there you go. My number 3 is Ghost with Imperia. Amazing, amazing album. There you go. My number 3. Now, number 2, another record where I reviewed in full on this channel, and if you know the album I'm talking about, I did this particular review with a friend of mine, John Clauser. What's up, John? But we got Megadeth's The Sick, The Dying, and The Dead as my number 2. Fantastic fucking record, and this record just keeps getting better and better every listen. Celebuton could possibly be my favorite Megadeth track since the 2000s, maybe. Celebuton is such a banger of a track, but you have The Sick, The Dying, and The Dead at the title track. You have Life in Hell, which is a ripping melt your face off track. You have Night Stalkers featuring Ice-T, and I don't give a shit. Ice-T is fucking awesome. Dogs of Chernobyl, Sacrifice, Junkie. Seems like a very personal album to Mustaine, to be honest. And this is actually the first record to not feature David Ellefson since Endgame. I'm not going to get into the David Ellefson thing here, but long story short, David Ellefson got the boot. But yeah, this is the first album without David Ellefson since that little whoopsie. But yeah, Dogs of Chernobyl, like I said, Celebuton is one of my favorite tracks. We Go Back is amazing. This is the single off of this record. You had this We Go Back and Soldier On as the singles off this record, both of which are absolutely outstanding. It's just another Megadeth record that is doing what Megadeth does, just ripping your fucking face off front to back. Not a weak point here. And it's just Megadeth, Dave Mustaine just sounding better than ever. And this is the first record to feature Dirk on drums, and Dirk's drumming is to die for. Yeah, so you had Chris Adler on drums during Dystopia, and then before that you had Sean Drover on drums. So this is the debut of Dirk on drums, and he could be the best drummer Megadeth has had since Nick Menza, to be honest. He has a Nick Menza feel, actually, and Kiko Loureiro is sounding better than ever on guitar. Again, I see a lot of similarities between Kiko and Marty Friedman. But yeah, overall, fantastic stuff. Megadeth doing what Megadeth does, and each track just keeps getting better and better every single listen. And this album gives me so much hope for what Megadeth will do in the very near future. So there you go. Megadeth, Sick, The Dying, and The Dead, coming out as my number 2. Great stuff. So what is my number 1? What is my number 1? June 24th, Porcupine Tree. Closure, continuation. Fantastic record. Oh my God. What an album. What an album. And this is following up 2009's The Incident. So this is a huge gap in the Porcupine Tree discography. But my God, was it fucking worth it? Absolutely. Closure Continuation is, in fact, my favorite Porcupine Tree record. Steve Wilson is a fucking genius. I love that guy to death, and wow, did he knock it out of the park. And Porcupine Tree has to be one of my favorite progressive rock bands, of the late 90s going into the 2000s. There's really not a weak point in their catalog, to be honest. But this Porcupine Tree record is easily my favorite. Like, and it opens up with like an 8-9 minute epic, hence Harridan. Everything you hear on Harridan just continues with this record. Then you have Of the New Day, which is one of Steve Wilson's best vocal performances, to be honest. The ballads off this record are definitely the tracks I really gravitate towards here. Hence, Of the New Day, which is probably my favorite off this record. Brilliant, brilliant track. Then you have Wrath's Return, a heavy, heavy, blistering progressive rock track. You have Dignity on here. You have Walk the Plank. You have Never Have. Just this record is just absolutely genius, and Steve Wilson is the biggest MVP off this record. His vocals just all the way front to back just sound absolutely beautiful. But yeah, Harridan and Of the New Day are definitely my favorites off this record, and those are the first two tracks off this record. Awesome stuff. But Dignity is awesome. Another almost ballad-ish type of track. This album is to die for, and if you haven't heard this record, or if you haven't really heard Porcupine Tree's discography, god damn it, give this album a shot. But this record, it's just a progressive rock masterpiece. I haven't heard anything like this in a very, very long time. I'm telling you, get this record. Porcupine Tree, Closure, Continuation. Amazing, amazing album. There you go. So there you have it. 10 records of 2022, in my personal opinion. Please, in the comments below, please let me know what your top 10 are. What do you agree with me? Disagree with me? Tell me I'm full of shit. Do whatever you want, right? But yeah, those are my top 10. Thank you so much for sticking it out with me, and I really hope you enjoyed it. So there you go. Porcupine Tree. I'm not exaggerating. Porcupine Tree. Closure, Continuation. Please check that out. Amazing, amazing album. So yeah, let me know in the comments your thoughts and all that good shit. Like, subscribe, whatever. And that's all I have for you. And as always, stay metal, stay scared, Happy New Year, and I will see you on the next one.